Our economy and investment look totally different in 2022 than it did even 3 years ago. So today we're breaking down the 4 biggest real estate trends I see happening in 2022 that investors really need to be paying attention to. We'll take it beyond the headlines and let you know what you need to be looking out for. Hi, I'm Jennifer Rulins, landlord, educator, advocate, and broker of One Focus Property Management. Today's video, we're breaking down the top 4 real estate trends real estate investors need to be thinking about in 2022. So let's get started. Trend number 1. This is not a big secret, but mortgage rates are going to rise. So we all remember a year and a half ago in 2020 when we were all stuck in our houses and mortgage rates plummeted and we all thought, how can we sneak out of this house so we can refi our home loans? Well, this is a time and an environment where mortgage rates have been at record lows. Just this month, or I'm sorry, 1 year ago, January 21, the average 30-year mortgage rate was 2.93. The Mortgage Bankers Association of America predicts that will be at 4% by the end of 2022. Now, that is an increase, yes. And when you read the headlines, you would think that it means home sales are going to significantly halt, stop, and prices are going to decline. That is not part of this trend at this point. Mortgage rates are going to increase, but in a historical context, they're still incredibly low. We all remember the 80s. I mean, maybe me, not so much, but my parents shared with me that in the 80s, there were times when the mortgage rates were up in the upper teens. And if you remember that, these times may seem really surreal in comparison, but even in the 90s, it wasn't unusual to see 30-year mortgage rates in that 8, 9, 10% range. And so now that we have these record low interest rates, it's really hard to imagine living with higher ones. But in the 80s, the 90s, through all different rate climates, we saw home sales volume maintain. It varied, but it maintained, and we saw prices appreciate. So it isn't the end of the world. It does change the cost of money and financing, but not so significantly that I think investors need to be diverting funds away from real estate. It is still the best game in town. Real estate trend number 2, home sales prices and rents will continue to increase. So I just told you that mortgage rates are going to rise. Some are saying that we're going to see cuts in prices and things like that. That is not predicted by Danielle Hale, chief economist at Realtor.com. She says we're going to see home sales prices increase another 2.9% this year, and astonishingly, rents putting up another 7.1% increase in 2022. And this is after a 7% increase in 2021. So we know that home sales prices will continue to increase. We actually expect home sales volumes to increase another 6.6% over 2021's record numbers. So these mortgage rates rising, these prices rising, we don't see a slowdown in trading or in prices. Although the takeaway here is that rent prices are rising more steeply than home sales prices. And let's just break down a little bit of some of what's going on there. So we are about 5 million housing units short in the United States, and our household formation is exceeding our new home construction. Now, new home construction has gotten their feet back under them. They are striving to catch up, but they are no match for the rate of household formation and income growth we're seeing. With all of this job changing and salary increases, we're expecting people to get a 3.3% increase in their income this year. And so, prices rising, rents rising, sales volume still increasing in 2022. I wouldn't expect the brakes to be put on too soon before fourth quarter. Real estate trend number 3, as housing affordability decreases, government interference increases. Well, I just spent the last 2 segments telling you about how the cost of housing is rising, and we have a housing affordability problem in this country. So what do we do about it? Well, I predict that it's going to be a major platform topic for the 2024 presidential election. I think all of the changes in our economy will lead that to be a real linchpin issue, and what the candidates are going to do about it from a federal perspective. Now, this is additionally concerning because we've seen tenants' rights groups get a lot of traction during the pandemic. At the beginning of the pandemic, our government did step in and enforced many eviction moratoriums of different sorts on a federal, state, and local levels. This is really precedent setting because once that happens, our governors, presidents, mayors all feel like that's a tool in their toolbox. When there's a state of emergency in their area, they're going to use that to control housing and control the safety of the citizens. And that's really problematic for landlords because they have private property rights and private contracts that are now being impeded on by the government. All of that aside, it shows that government interference is something that they're willing to do and going to do more. These tenants' rights groups are getting a lot of traction across the country. We see it primarily in the West and heading east. Now, these are things like controlling how much security deposit or whether a landlord can require a traditional security deposit. It could be restricting discrimination on source of income, thereby requiring landlords, private landlords, to participate in publicly funded public housing programs like Section 8. It could be the worst idea in economics, rent control. So we see a lot of different things coming from the government right now. It's mostly on the state level, but we see that happen. We see that as a trend. And if you're an investor, you need to be really aware of how you're operating your properties and what those trends are, making plans to accommodate for them in the future. I know that's what we're doing at One Focus. We've always got our eye toward more aggressive legislation so that we're prepared to represent our clients and maintain the performance of their assets. Real estate trend number 4, the blockchain. Well, I'm not entirely prepared to explain the blockchain to you. I do a lot of reading and listening to experts, futurists in the real estate space, talking about how blockchain is affecting the real estate industry. And it's already happening. We have many venture-backed large companies coming into the space and trying to bring blockchain-enabled services to their real estate clients for all different kinds of real estate services. Now, this does a couple of things. It makes these transactions faster, more secure, and more able to be deployed not locally. So a couple of things that I think the blockchain is going to change. It's going to change what services our realtors are bringing us and what we expect from them. Because right now, a lot of the real estate sales industry is built around the realtor being a gatekeeper to the listing, a gatekeeper to accurate and reliable information, and that restricts the market's ability to work with these products and inventory. And so the blockchain is going to remove some of that gatekeeper aspect that realtors have, thereby reducing the value of a realtor if all you're going to them for is to get through those gates. However, I predict while we might see a decline in the number of agents, we're going to see an increase in professionalism, skill, and expertise. And so you'll be relying on your realtor less to get you through that lockbox, less to get you accurate comps, but more to get you strategy, advice, and exposure to things that maybe aren't on market. Additionally, I see compression of commissions coming along with this technology. There's a lot of trends happening both with government legal enforcement and with technology that are showing us that buyers agents may not look the same in the future. And we're gonna see that potentially realtors' commissions won't be a percentage of the transaction, that instead we would compensate these professionals, much like we do accountants, consultants, attorneys, on a retainer and per hour basis, or even like a per project basis. And so I would look to find realtors who meet that definition of skill, expertise, and consultancy, and a true fiduciary to you in your real estate trades. Now, we should also be paying attention to the commissions that we're paying and the different options that are becoming available with these new technology-backed companies. So much is possible, so much is happening, and it really opens up things for people who aren't local in a community paying attention to the real estate market. 2022 is bound to be an incredibly exciting year. These trends are just the ones in real estate that I think are the biggest and most glaring for investors to be paying attention to, but there's so much more going on with this. Keep watching our videos. Please subscribe. I'll bring you topics of information that I find so interesting as an investor and a property manager for investors here in North Central Pennsylvania. I hope if you need some help with your rental properties, you'll give us a call. I love bringing you these videos. Give us a like, give us a share, and subscribe. Until next time.